I'm not gonna even sit here and lie to you, man. It was an honest mistake, and
It's not a mistake.
I know the way that it seems. It may seem like it's a repeated offense.
It is a repeated offense, and it's not a mistake. Did you drink them shots by mistake?
No, sir.
Okay, so it wasn't a mistake. It was a decision.
41 years old. He is basically asking the court to consider imposing the minimum sentence for the charge to which he pled guilty. Realizes this has had an effect on him and those around him. He has been to prison before. I think he would follow the court's orders and probation department's community control provisions if given the opportunity to do that. He knows he's looking at least 120 days in prison. He would like it not to be more than that. Thank you.
Mr. Mackey, what do you want to tell me?
I hear you, sir.
What do you want to tell me before I sentence you?
I want to tell you that first, I want to apologize to my family and to the courts. Secondly, I just want to let you know that I promise to God it was just an honest mistake. I had just overcome drinking. I had just started back drinking. Well, I had drink after my dad died, but I didn't say I just started back drinking. That's when I came off maybe like a 6 year since I've been home from jail. That was like my first time drinking. But when I started drinking, it made me think more and more about my dad's death, so I really didn't like it. So we was out, and I'm not gonna sit here like and just like tell you no story. Like, I took some shots. One thing led to another. I thought I could make it home. I wasn't thinking. I did the dumbest decision in the world by getting behind that wheel. And I'm extremely sorry, apologetic for everything, and I'm willing to do any and everything it is to let you know that it was just a mistake. And I'm just trying to get back to my family.
Where was the party?
It was on 185th.
And then you left the party to go home.
Yes, sir.
You were going in the wrong direction, weren't you?
Huh? No, I was going to my girl house. She stays on 305.
Well, you weren't going home.
That's where I was staying, sir.
You told me you were going home after the party.
Yeah, that's where I was staying with my girl on 305.
When's the last time you had a license?
My license was valid when it happened.
So what happened when you left 185th and you were going eastbound on Route 2? What happened?
It was a construction truck out there, and I actually pulled over to the side because I was behind the truck. And when I put this truck stopped and put his hazard lights on.
See the police car with the lights on?
No, the police car didn't have no lights on. So after the truck had his hazard lights on and it stopped, I had to back up to go around the truck. And as I was backing up to go around the truck, the officer pulled me over.
What kind of car were you driving?
A van, a Chrysler Town and Country.
Who's it titled to?
We're not done paying for it, but it will be titled to me once I get finished.
Who's it titled to right now?
Eddie Auto Brokers.
Okay, so there's an officer right at the Warden Road spot on Route 2 in the right lane with his emergency lights on to keep the right lane closed from vehicular travel. That's after there were road signs as far back as the split indicating road work ahead, and another one that said right lane closed. The officer saw a Dodge, silver Dodge, past the location of where the cop was in the left lane, continuously changed lanes without signaling to the right, struck a cone that was closing the far right lane. Vehicle entered the closed lane and drove toward the construction vehicles with construction workers actively working in front of it. Vehicle nearly struck the rear of the construction truck and swerved out of the closed lane and continuously changed lanes without signaling, nearly striking another vehicle traveling on the roadway. So that's what happened. Right?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's not what you told me happened, but that's what happened. How many OVIs you got?
3.
4? 4,
4,
4. '09, Wycliffe. 10, Bratnall. 14, Euclid. 15, Euclid. So what happened in that last one?
me and a buddy was in a car and we slid and I tried to turn the car and we almost hit a tree. And my dude, he sprained his wrist and he sued my insurance company and they came after me.
Okay,
So I got vehicular assault.
you got aggravated vehicular assault, right?
Yes.
And a DUI, right?
Yes.
And a drug possession, right?
Yes.
And a tampering with evidence. And you went to prison for that.
Yes.
Got out in March of 20. And now here we are in 25 with you being drunk as a skunk, going through a closed lane in a construction site. Why? Why are you doing the same thing over and over again?
Your Honor, I'm not gonna even sit here and lie to you, man. It was an honest mistake, and
It's not a mistake.
I know the way that it seems. It may seem like it's a repeated offense.
It is a repeated offense, and it's not a mistake.
How
How did you get to the party?
I drove there.
Okay. So did you drink them shots by mistake?
No, sir.
Okay, so it wasn't a mistake. It was a
It
decision.
was a dumb decision. You're
Right.
absolutely right, sir.
Right. And somebody with your experience, with 4 prior OVIs, 10 prior driving under suspensions, had no business doing what you were doing. It wasn't a mistake. So then, on February 3rd, you pick up, you're driving again. Why were you driving in February?
Sure. I was driving to we was taking my stepson to a doctor's appointment, and my girl, she can see she got like the astigmatism in her eye, and I was driving, and sir, honest to God, true, I didn't think that my license would be suspended until I was convicted.
Well, you were wrong,
Absolutely wrong.
because it was suspended immediately. You don't seem to pay too much attention to all this stuff.
I do, sir. I'm sorry.
You don't. If you did, you wouldn't be sitting here for the 5th time. Now, despite all that, you don't seem to think you have a problem. Why is that?
I feel that like I can stop whenever I feel I can go cold turkey.
Then why didn't you?
I did, Your Honor, but
Well, you didn't, because you drove through the construction zone and almost hit a couple people, so you didn't.
well, like I say, I had a stint of a stop.
This stuff goes back, these OBIs go back to '09, and you don't have a problem.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, you do have a problem. You don't, well, you don't have any insight, so you don't have, because you got a big problem. If you didn't have a problem, you wouldn't be sitting here for the 5th time. You got a big problem.
Absolutely right.
What?
I said you're absolutely right, sir.
Okay. Why did you tell me you didn't have a problem? Why did you tell the probation officer who interviewed you that you didn't have a problem?
No, I told her, what I was meaning to her was telling her I did have a problem. Stop drinking. I didn't mean it like, that's like in trying to insult you. I would never try to insult you. I was telling her like, I don't have a problem with
What did he
stop.
tell you?
Huh?
Your Honor, I asked him if he thought he presently had a problem with alcohol. He stated no. I asked him if he ever thought he had a problem with alcohol, and he stated no.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell me?
No, sir, what I meant by that is I don't have a problem with stopping.
Well, if you don't have a problem with stopping, then why didn't you stop?
That's not an answer.
Huh?
That's an answer I can't answer.
Well, The correct answer is you have a problem and you can't stop.
Yes, sir.
That's the answer. Celeste?
Thank you, Your Honor. I couldn't disagree more with the defendant's characterization that this was an honest mistake. He has the four prior OVI convictions and served 3 prior prison terms. One of those was in connection with the prior felony OVI. And despite that repeated intervention, the defendant has continued to engage in the same exact behavior, which is drinking and driving. What makes this offense especially more troubling is that the defendant drove through a construction zone, almost striking the workers. The defendant does not appear to show any genuine remorse for that or fully understand or appreciate that he could seriously have injured or killed someone that day. And he should be acutely aware of that possibility since he had, in this prior case, pled to an aggravated vehicular assault in connection with the felony OVI. He also violated the conditions of bond in this case by continuing to drink and drive without a license. So without an acknowledgement that he has a problem, I think the likelihood of any meaningful rehabilitation is low. The state is asking for 3 years prison, and there's the mandatory driver's license suspension and fine. Thank you.
All right, I've reviewed the pre-sentence report, the drug and alcohol evaluation, and I considered all the provisions in 292911, 292912, and 292913. The pre-sentence report indicates a drug abuse conviction in 07, another one in 08, a felony drug possession in 08, a felony drug possession in 10, another one in 10, felony, another felony drug possession in 11, for which you were placed on probation. That was your 4th felony drug possession. You were put on probation. Actually, the 2nd and 3rd one, you went to prison. 4th one, you're put on probation in 11, which was about 8 months after you got out of prison. Violated probation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, went to prison. In 15 for 2 months on that. Get out May 31st of 15. Get this aggravated vehicular assault, OVI, felony, August of 17, go to prison for short of 3 years. And here we are again. As I said, 4 prior OVIs, 10 prior driving under suspension, 0 insight into the fact that you have a serious drug and alcohol problem because you keep getting convictions for drugs and getting convictions related to alcohol, yet you don't have a problem. If you don't have a problem, if that's true, then the only reason you're drinking is because you don't want to stop.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, you would stop, based on what you're telling me. So you need a lot of help that you refuse to get because you don't think you need it. That's the quandary you're in.
I do, sir.
Then you should get it. You want it both ways. You don't have a problem. You can stop anytime, but you do have a problem. So you are not amenable to community control. So I'm going to sentence you to 48 months in prison with credit for 88 days. And we'll impose a fine of $5,000.